The whole idea is that to know know the individual behind the Zeneca pseudonym.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
So I'm DV Dharamveer Singh Chauhan, Indian, and we have built world's largest backpacker hostel chain. And we do believe that the more people travel, the more cultures they interact with, it largely plays a great role in their personal evolution. And we're taking it up a notch with building great dedicated real estate spaces for the Web3 folks. It's kind of like co-living for Web3 with great meetup spaces, great event spaces, hangout, networking sessions, NFT galleries, everything, everything that just encompasses Web3 ecosystem, all the different roles that individuals have, from trader, investor, collector, creator. And so we're building these, just briefly about what we are doing. We've been building these co-living houses across the world. The first one's coming in India. We hope to host you very soon, Zeneca. Our idea is to, invite you in and help you, explore much more life as well. I think India has a unique flavor. And but so we do have a larger India base, but our plans are completely global. We have served people from over 150 countries in our last 10 years. And idea for today's conversation with you was to, obviously big fan. I'm a OG role holder in the pre-mint days, with the Zen Academy. So, thanks for everything. Always been a fan and mostly a student, towards learning with you along your Twitter threads, your text comments, as well as, your podcast. So, great to have you here from a fan side as well. Taking it forward, we love to understand, so we have co-founder with us as well. He's our co-founder. Idea is to really get to know the individuals who are behind the pseudonym. I would love to know, Zeneca's childhood. I would love to know how, where did you grow up? Where did you study? How were you like as a child? What were your curiosities? And
Yeah, sure. So I was born in Australia, born and raised in Australia. Uh, Lived there most of my life. Only the last few years I've been living in Germany. But as a kid, I was, I think, stereotypical, like shy, nerdy kid that played
yeah,
video games, read books, and wasn't too much into going out or playing sports or partying or anything like that. Loved games, all sorts of games, chess, card games, board games, video games. Always had a passion for games. Probably what makes sense as to why I became a professional poker player when I was leaving high school, and that's what I did for most of my adult life. So
when we
and
talk about games, so were you into a lot of desktop games as well, like the single player, or maybe the Age of Empires, maybe
yeah,
Command and Conquer and
literally
those
everything,
commandos.
all games. I
Or,
loved those. I loved
and how was
strategy.
it in Australia? Like, did you had to download crack and etc. to install those games, or did you buy original games? How
I
was it?
can't even remember. I think there was definitely a bunch of like downloading weird stuff um online to be able to play them. I
Yeah, Rapid
remember
Share or Mega Upload, something like that. Used to
something like that.
download.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember you would go to like um the news agency and buy like a magazine. It would have a CD in
Right,
it with
right,
like
right,
a
right.
demo version of a bunch of games, and yeah, you
I still have hundreds of those CDs. Somehow, and I don't have a lot of things from my childhood, but since I was a very hardcore nerd, I think those key CDs
mm,
that are supposedly, supposed to be extinct now are, an essential part, I
they're
think, of
pretty
my
cool.
life. The first time as a child when I was, really mesmerized by the potential of what I was looking at was when I first heard about download.com. And we had to, dial up internet connection to downloading some 4 MB, 8 MB demo games, or maybe some other games. So how was your, when did you first hear about internet, and like how was your first interactions with it? How did you fool around with, and what role has that early internet played in shaping you up today? What's your take on that?
I remember. I think I would have been around 9 or something, so in like 1997. And I was playing Mortal Kombat with friends, and we went online to find like cheat codes, or like not even cheat codes, maybe just like the combinations for all the like attack moves or something like that. And uh, that is one of my earliest recollections of the internet. I think it just really naturally set me up to when I found NFTs, and it was all about this whole buying digital assets, collecting, owning. It was just like I liked as a kid, Pokemon cards and Magic cards, and playing and collecting all sorts of things. So it was a really natural fit for me, I think.
Just after high school, you went full-time poker. How did that transition happen? And were you more of a cash game player or a tournament player? Personally speaking, I grinded a lot of tournament poker play because, somehow, it's against the odds, somehow that gave a lot more motivation. Would love to understand, how did you approach it and both aspects of the game? Where do you feel more comfortable?
Always more of a cash game player. It started because in last year of high school, maybe even the second last year of high school, I was with some friends at one of our friends' house. We were playing Halo. It was like a Halo night, and then in the middle we took a break to watch TV, have dinner, had some pizza, and poker was on TV. And one of my friends explained the rules to us, and I was like intrigued by it. I was like, "Oh, this sounds pretty cool." And then we started playing amongst ourselves, and then I went online and started researching and reading and finding online sites to play, and just kind of went from there.
Just want to understand, I understand that, it's been a long journey, you grinding poker for a living. And so what this time, like, yeah, poker was your full-time living source. And why do you think that, you were so hooked to poker? Was that something about the game? And what would you suggest to, individuals who you feel like, who might pursue poker professionally today, tomorrow? Like, how is that lifestyle? Like, what, from the outside, it can look very different from the way it's inside, right?
Oh yeah, I would not recommend anyone to be a professional poker player. Even like 10, 15 years ago, I was stopping recommending it because I think it's really tough and it's getting increasingly more difficult as time has gone on. Now we have sophisticated bots and AI and analytical tools and things that are just like making the game really difficult to beat and to compete. So, on top of that, it's like it can be very stressful and um the swings of making and losing large sums of money in short periods of time. It's not for the faint-hearted. So I just basically wouldn't recommend poker as a profession. It's a great game.
You were professionally running it, like living on playing poker for almost a decade. Like how long?
Yeah,
More than a
for
decade.
about like 16 years.
And I understand that, maybe, the name Zeneca, obviously comes from, I think, Seneca, the Stoic philosopher. And I think, playing poker, really pushed you, I think, towards being a bit
Yeah.
more stoic as well. So, so obviously, Stoicism is a lot about indifference and, controlling your emotions, etc. What's your larger take on that? So how should one, like, why is it so important for human beings to understand their life?
Yeah,
Any takes on that?
definitely evolved through poker playing. Basically, when you play poker, when you do anything in life, there's certain things
Mm.
that are within your control, and there's certain things that are outside of your control. And for the most part, most things that happen are outside of any of our control. So, like as a poker player, you can make decisions, make bets, make bluffs, make calls, decide to play hands or not play hands. But uh, what's outside of your control is knowing what cards are going to come next or exactly what your opponents are going to do. So you can only do so much, and then um, you just have to sort of see what happens, and that applies to life and crypto and
Mm-hmm.
NFTs and trading and many other areas, basically everything in life.
True.
And there's sort of like the unlock or the understanding that if you can figure out a way to align your emotions and thoughts and feelings more strongly with the things that are in your control, it allows you to have a lot more say and stability and impact on how you feel and regulate your emotions over certain things. Whereas, if on the other hand you're allowing things outside your control to like materially sway the way that you feel or don't feel about things, it is really easy to just get swept up in a tornado or a maelstrom of feelings that aren't great and that you have no control over. So yeah, just really important life lessons I learned over the years, and thankfully found Stoicism, and has helped me a lot.
You already mentioned that, your evolution, you already had it in mind that, I'm looking for, maybe something out the door from poker, and then, evaluating,
Yeah, I
is it?
dabbled in crypto in I think 2017. I bought some ETH and some other coins, even Bitcoin, ETH, Bitcoin, some altcoins, and but then like the bear market hit, and I just kind of left. I didn't really have that conviction. In 20, God, when was it? Maybe 2015 or 2016. It was maybe around the same time. I can't remember. I went back to university to study law, which I did for about
Wow.
12 to
Uh,
18 months, which was
mm,
it was fun for the first 6 months and maybe the first 12 months, but it just started quickly getting less fun, less exciting, less interesting, more difficult, and I just very quickly realized this is not something I want to be
for
doing for the rest of my life. But it was
you.
really, really a good experience.
As we move deeper into crypto space, just taking a step back, and I understand that what you have been able to achieve, from playing poker to doing this, these are not traditional paths. These are not career journeys that you google and understand that you have to do this and do this, and probably these are the places where you need to have your emotions completely in control, a very high amount of self discipline, a great amount of faith in how you perceive universe is working, putting your actions.
When I first started finding Stoicism, I read a lot of books and literature. I did things like meditated on a frequent basis and journaled and did all sorts of stuff like that. Lately, the last, I don't know, few years now, like 2, 3 years, it has been more of like a passive thing where I don't really actively meditate. I don't actively
Hmm.
um, journal or even read that much Stoic material. It's just sort of my way of thinking has been so significantly influenced by it that I now look at life through a lens of stoicism most of the time. Like it's never perfect, and like anyone, we're all humans, and sometimes emotions get the better of us, and you have good days and bad days, and things. You get upset and angry and frustrated and sad and all the normal range of emotions. But um, by just frequently coming back to looking through life through the lens of stoicism, it makes it easier to find balance more quickly.
So thanks for that. I think it's time that we dive deeper into how did you come up with Zeneca itself, and where do you want to really take it? Where
Yeah, it's all been very unintentional and accidental for the most part. Like when I first started out, I created my Twitter account in March 2021 and came up with the name Zeneca. And it was really just to like follow people and read content and try and find news. And somewhere along the way, I started creating content, my newsletter and Twitter threads and a podcast, and just sort of being in kind of the right place at the right time. Bull market was going crazy. There weren't that many people writing or creating content. It happened to just really take on a life of its own, and that sort of then in turn evolved into Zen Academy. And I wanted to do something a little more meaningful, impactful, and valuable, I guess. And that's kind of where I landed on launching Zen Academy as a NFT platform and community, really with a focus on education and learning and logic and reason and onboarding and all sorts of stuff like that. And we had no roadmap when we launched. We still don't really have much of a roadmap now. It was an experiment and just my attempt at trying to, I guess, um, in a way leverage my personal brand into something larger, but also create something separate and distinct, and see where it took us. And now a year and a bit on, there's 20 of us working on Zen Academy in one
Wow.
way or another. We have a ton of different types of content across different mediums, video and audio, and multiple newsletters. And we go to in real life events, and we're beginning soon to translate into other languages, and it's really just taken on this massive life of its own. All of it really just made possible by the community and the people that have found and chosen and decided to sort of be part of Zen Academy and stay part of Zen Academy, and be in the community and be active members, and or even inactive members. Everyone that's part of the community is very much part of the community. So yeah, it's really just taken on a life of its own, and excited for the future.
I would love to understand from you. So where do you see it going long term from here? That and your role as well. And do you feel that it has to be a business that runs profitably, or do you feel that it's more of a community effort? Where do you see how important is Zeneca for Zen Academy, today and then 10 years from now, or maybe 5 years?
And I think today they're very strongly tied together just by nature of the role that I've played in Zen Academy, and how relatively early we still are in the life cycle of it all. But my hope is that as time goes on, the role of Zeneca within Zenacademy continues to become smaller and smaller, and the community itself becomes a self-sustaining organism and an ecosystem where just by being part of the community, people know that this is likely a type of person that has similar cultural morals, ethos, values, approaches to life, and you could probably get along well with another community member. You could probably talk to them 5-10 years from now. I hope to still be a significant part of Zenacademy, but a much smaller part of it than I am today. And I think we're moving in that direction as we get, more people joining the team to do things like create content or reach out to like work with third parties and our partners and just all sorts of other things, as well as the community grows in size. We're finding like all sorts of little subcultures within the community, and people are banding together and doing their own things. So yeah, today very, very closely connected, but I think as time goes on, they will naturally begin to separate. The building blocks of the subcultures and of people are networking and connecting with one another, and people are coming to learn, and people are having fun, and people are there's different people there for different reasons, but and I think that is just going to continue to grow as time goes on.
How do you feel about your own PFPs, and then PFPs, the role of these PFP NFTs in the larger human evolution, let's say the internet evolution that's happening right now? You've been there, you've been aboard it for so long, you've seen people come, go, etc. What's it? Is PFP a market fit that's already been achieved?
Yeah, I think PFPs are here to stay. I think that as long as like they've existed for decades already, people have had avatars, digital avatars, and it's nothing new. And I think that yeah, that they're not going anywhere. I think they're a really great way to almost socially signal that you're part of a type of a certain community, and that means that you represent a certain thing. It's just the same way that people like to wear certain brands of clothes, or certain shoes or watches, or buy certain drinks, or this, that, or the other. It's all this large part of it is social signaling. Like, we're social creatures, and I think that PFPs are just a really perfect product market fit in the digital space of being able to identify and represent certain communities that maybe you share the values of and that you resonate with. And so I don't think PFPs are going anywhere. I think we're just going to see more and more of them as time goes on. Most PFP projects are going to zero and just won't make it and won't be worth it. But the ones that will still be here in a few years, where a community has formed around the PFP, or a community has formed and then they've been given a PFP, which is the approach that we're taking. I think there's tremendous long-term value into having people be able to represent themselves. It's kind of like it's fun, it's exciting, it's rewarding, it's validating, it's good marketing for the project if people are out there representing the PFP. It's just, there's a lot of symbiotic, mutually beneficial win-win situations with aligned incentives when it comes to PFP projects.
The thought that goes behind building a PFP collection itself is so difficult, right? You want to give representation to so many global cultures. You want to make it maybe inclusive, depending on what your community is. So how was that? How was that challenge in terms of tangible challenges that you probably had to think through for your own PFP collection? In terms of examples, and how the questions that you had, and then whatever you answered them, and then I'll take it forward from there. Yeah. So.
No, I mean, there's a lot of different challenges when it comes to creating a PFP. You have to think about the art style and the traits and all of that. You need to think about the collection size. You need to think about the mint price. You need to think about utility, what there might be if there is any. You need to think about many, many, many things. For me, I have always, like, we haven't shared much yet about the art style, so I won't comment too much on that, except that I think that it is, while it's important, I think it's of lesser importance to like the longevity and significance of a project than the strength of the community. And I think that if you can build a strong community, then they're very likely to rally behind. It doesn't really matter if it's a a lizard, an animal, a human, an inanimate object, whatever it is, I think people will bond together around the more deeper principles of community, companionship, connections, network, meaning, shared beliefs and cultures and values. And so to that extent, I think that art is important when it comes to PFPs, but it's not the most important thing. And so we have really just taken an approach of really building out the community first and foremost. We've been building for over a year, and now have a really strong community that we want to effectively reward with a PFP. One of the things we are mindful of is not like saturating the market with a ton more supply and blowing things up. So we're not going to launch like another 10K or a 20K
Right.
collection and charge them in price. It's basically a burn. People burn their current tokens, get a chest, they'll burn the chest and get the PFP, and or reveal the PFP, and it's all kind of largely a sideways movement rather than a massively inflationary movement. And so yeah, we've been very mindful in it. It's a free process as well. People don't have to pay to get the PFP. It's at the end of the day, we want as many community members as possible out there representing Zenacademy and having their PFP. And if you charge people for it and it's a paid mint, then it maybe reduces the number of people that might want to do that. And it just, yeah, we're really mindful of trying to doing it in a way that's rewarding our existing community. We have a few ideas for how to grow the community as well.
So, just taking, yeah, beyond PFPs, how do you see NFTs, NFTs as a technology or tool or maybe assets, continue to evolve in the future?
Obviously very bullish on the future of NFTs as a technology. I think that it is really useful and powerful and impactful, and we're going to see tremendous like product market fit cases of people and companies and brands using the technology to improve people's lives, and that's like the crux of it. We need to implement ways that the technology can actually improve people's day to day lives. And for the most part, that's not really the case today. There's very few examples where that's the case. There are some, but not many. But for the most part, it's very highly speculative. But I think over the course of the next several years, we're going to see instances where, NFTs are used for loyalty programs or ticketing for sporting events or concerts, and that it's done in ways that reduces transaction fees, maybe increases transaction speed, reduces the possibility for scalping, rewards customers or consumers who maybe buy multiple over the course of a while. You can airdrop things. There's a lot of cool things and valuable things you can do with the technology. And that's just like a couple of use cases, I think, when it comes to real estate and medicine. And there's just so much that blockchain technology can do and NFT technology can do to just improve our lives. We barely scratched the surface yet. I think one of the biggest ones that we're going to see in the next several years is as AI improves rapidly and AI tools become commonplace, we're seeing more and more sort of fake videos and fake content, and we're going to need a way for people to authenticate what is genuine and what is not. And I think blockchain technology is like the single best solution to that. So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of innovation in the next 5-10 years.
So why, according to you, Web3 is needed today, tomorrow? Is it, there are fundamentally, hard principles. Is it because, we feel that centralization, concentration of power, or is there anything else in the Web3 ethos that, appeal to you the most? Like,
I think as we move into an increasingly digital future, our lives are already very digitized, and if you look at younger generations, they're spending even more time in like behind screens in digital worlds and spaces, Minecraft, Roblox, Fortnite, just a few examples, but just like casual gamers on app stores or social media, TikTok. It's all part of this digital world, and I think that ownership of items and things in the digital world is an important part. Ownership in real life, the sort of the Web 2 or the non-internet world is an important thing, and NFT technology allows people to sort of have ownership in a way that is not really possible without it. So, if I don't know, go to the store and buy whatever it is, a basketball or a shirt or a pair of sunglasses, bring them home. I own them. I can kind of do whatever I want with them. But when it comes to digital assets, um, up until NFTs or crypto, if you bought something online, it was usually just like a bit of code in a database owned by a centralized entity, and you had a lot of limitations and restrictions on perhaps what you could do with it. You didn't really have true ownership over it, and I think that that's the beauty of NFTs. The technology allows an individual to truly own an asset in a way that they have full custody of, that they don't rely on a third party, a centralized gaming platform or app store or social media platform or government. Because we've seen time and time again where sometimes they change their terms and conditions, they change the way the algorithm works, and they just decide, in some cases they just take your assets away from you, and it's all very it can lead to a very scary and dystopian future when if our lives are increasingly ruled by centralized entities. So I think the ability and the unlock of individuals to truly own assets in a digital world, to me, is like one of the biggest selling points for this whole revolution.
So I think it's great to understand that we need revolutionaries, and core believers like you, Zen, to really push the ethos forward. And great to see what you have been doing. Have you defined according to you what are the core principles of Zen Academy along with which you want it to structure, or is it a lot open ended today, or do you think that from a belief and principle perspective you have locked it down what you want to build?
I mean, it's always somewhat open ended and evolving, because we understand that this space is really changing rapidly, and not even just this space. Like, life is changing rapidly. The way that we all think about the world is changing rapidly, and the way that we all work together and communicate is changing rapidly. So we're very much open minded about being flexible in our beliefs and values, and open to changing belief systems and structures. But I think at the core of it, the principle is just being a place where people can come for like reliable, valuable information that's grounded in like logic and reason, and being a place where people help each other.
Super excited. And do you think that you have learned something along the way about building the community as well that possibly you can share, beyond that, but that might not have been very easily visible while you were doing it?
I think one big one was, the several months after minting out the initial Genesis tokens last year. um, we were trying to figure out what direction we wanted to go in, what kind of community we wanted to continue to build towards being, and we sort of jumped around in a lot of different directions and experimented with, oh, this other community is doing this thing, maybe we should try that out, or oh, there's this alpha community doing these bots, maybe we should try and get some bots into the server, or this, that, and the other. And it was kind of confusing and without clarity, and we lost sight of what really made us who we were and what attracted people to us in the first place, and that was
Hmm.
just creating solid, meaningful content that was helpful, and just being a community of people that were helpful and looking out for one another. So yeah, just realizing that you don't have to, like, it's good to look at other projects and learn from them and take some inspiration and ideas, but you don't want to copy them, you don't want to be like other people, you want to be your own community, your own project, your own brand, your own you have to be your own just yeah, your own culture. And that was a few months in the learning, but definitely valuable to learn that early on.
So just understanding that, are there other Web2 companies in edtech, as a category, let's say something like Duolingo to Coursera, that projects or or startups that or tools that you have used, learned, and you feel like I would love to have that, or such a tool, or something that might have inspired you to tomorrow be a part of Zen Academy.
I would say not particularly yet at this point. I think for the most part, we haven't really set our sights on building out tools and infrastructure that are in line with like a lot of the Web 2 models. That we've done a couple things. Like, we worked with Nas Academy, which is a Web 2 ed tech company, and they do kind of like masterclass style courses. So I did a couple of courses with them. And we've thought about doing more structured courses for our community, and things like that, and using things like gamification and apps and all that stuff for learning. But I think at the crux of it, it's really just trying to simplify it as much as possible and focus more on um, continuing to build out the community rather than trying to build a specific product or service or app or thing.
100% sure. You have to play on your strengths, and I think what we are really shaping up today. Tomorrow we'll definitely have more people in the community with the expertise and the desire to build a great tech platform, and then I'm sure that in medium to long term we'll have great learning materials. So this is one thing that I wanted to understand how you feel about it. So metaverse, right? There are hundreds of definitions of metaverse. The one which I find most compelling is that it's just a natural evolution of internet with maybe better visualization and digital interoperability, but it's just internet and the screens that we spend time. What do you think about metaverse? What is metaverse to you, and how do you see it?
Yeah, that's exactly how I see it as well. It's to my mind, we've been living in the metaverse for decades already. It's just, you know, World of Warcraft was the metaverse, RuneScape, Second Life, Fortnite, Minecraft, online forums and Facebook groups and all of these chat rooms. This has all been part of the metaverse for a very long time, and it's just new technology is making it seem more advanced and realistic because it is more advanced and realistic. And as we move to sort of more platforms, we use blockchain technology, we use AR, VR is really starting to take off. That to me is just the next iteration of the metaverse, but we've already been in the metaverse for a very long time, I think.
I think we still have 5-10 minutes, so we can have something from the audience. Anybody wants to raise hand and ask anything?
So everyone, how are you this evening?
Zozo.
So
Go
Zeneca,
ahead, go ahead.
good to have you here in the spaces. And I have a question. And so I've been in this Web3 ecosystem for about 1.5 years now. My question is very simple, bro. Like 1 year ago, onboarding into Web3 was probably more difficult and, a limited set of things to show and explain. But I think today, if one has to, create a wallet, it's just an app away. So, is this my observation just weird, or it's actually true? And how it's going to change in the future? This is like a sort of a weird question I have.
Onboarding is getting a lot easier. It's still not great. It's still difficult, complicated, overwhelming, and risky for newcomers. But if you look at where it was a year ago, it's a lot better. If you look at where it was 5 years ago, it's 10 times. It's so much better. And I think we're just continuing to move forward in the right direction where infrastructure is getting better. So like wallets are getting easier to set up. You can buy NFTs with credit card in more and more places, and then self custody later if you want. um, UI and UX is improving. That's been a pretty terrible part of the space for a very long time, but it's getting better. And I think as time goes on, it's just going to continue to get easier and easier for new people to sort of enter the space. So yeah, I'm very optimistic for the way that we're headed. It'll just be in the background. The technology will be abstracted away, and people will be interacting with Web3 without even knowing that they're interacting with the blockchain.
Hey, Suzu team. And Zanka, very
Zozo.
nice to hear you. And as I think Divi was saying, I'm a big fan of yours, a part of Zen Academy for quite some time. Zen, I think Genesis Pass holder as well. The question is, I feel that Web3 is a term which is abused a lot. Like there is no decentralization at many places, and the original like promise of Web3 is broken. So we have seen Jack Dorsey from Twitter, he's coming with Web5, and I forget the name, the father of internet, he's coming with a similar project. So, what are your thoughts on that? Like, is Web3 really a Web3 or is it mostly Web2 on steroids or over marketed?
I think we're in like a weird Web 2.5 world, and we probably will be for a very long time. Web 3 is meant to be about decentralization, but the reality is most things are still very centralized. So if Web 3 is to be fully decentralized, it's going to be a very long time before we get there. And yeah, we're very much in this Web 2.5 experimental phase where a lot of the things are somewhat Web 3, but largely Web 2 still.
Hi Zen. Love the work you're doing. Big fan. I actually had a question regarding, how to build a community. So I feel like, the work you've done is great, and you releasing a PFP collection now, once you have your community on board, once you've added so much value to the community, is, like such a great way to go about this. So my question was, I'm a creator, and I'm actually an NFT native creator. So I've actually started creating, since the NFT space happened, commercially. So for an NFT native creator to find their first 1,000 fans, and onboard them onto a long-term project like a music album or a comic book project, or a book project or something like that, how do they go about, like dropping their projects, and how do they go about onboarding their first 1,000 fans? How would
Yeah,
you?
I think you're largely right.
Yeah.
The way to get your first, talking to people on Twitter Spaces and having a call and just one by one explaining what you're doing, who you are, your vision, your what you're creating, what you're building towards, why you want people to join you, and really just you have to do it one by one, and then eventually you start reaching sort of almost a critical mass where once you get to one, two, 300 people, then it begins this like network effect, this halo effect that people start seeing it and they're like, oh, that sounds really exciting and interesting. Maybe I want to join and be a part of that. But yeah, really just very much one by one, you have to like build one brick at a time.
Zeneca, nice hearing you. I mean, like a lot of insights you gave us. I just have one question. I mean, what is your advice for somebody like there are so many things happening? I mean, you try to get into so many projects and then you get stuck, you have a breakdown. So, how do you manage to keep yourself sane in the space?
Yeah, it's it's a good question. It's really tough. I think for me it was like realizing at a certain point that it's just literally it's absolutely impossible to stay on top of what's happening. You're just going to miss 99% of things. You're just going to miss everything all the time. And you have to really just focus on, a small number of projects or a small part of the space, a few communities, one niche, whether it's, gaming or generative art or photography or music. There's so many areas. And if you try to like stay on top of all of it, you're going to totally fail at everything. So I think it's really important to just, have more of a laser focus and stay on one or two projects, communities, areas, and yeah, even then it's tough to stay on top of it all, but it's a lot more manageable than trying to stay on top of everything.
Hey, hi, Zen. Great work. Big fan. So, I have a question regarding the NFT market. When we are launching our NFT project, so how important it is to tell the utility of a project? Should we just define the utility first and then launch the project, or should we just launch it, shoot it, and then go according to the market? How should we go about it?
I think there's no one size fits all. It's very much an it depends answer on what you're trying to do and the type of project that you're building and that you're working towards. I mean, for us with Zenacademy, we didn't have any utility. We didn't launch with any plan or roadmap. We said, it's just access to a Discord server and that's it. But that was after 6-8 months of building community and building up a network and following already. If you're starting from pure scratch, then I think you need to explain a bit more about what you're trying to do and why people should join you. So really, yeah, there's no easy answer here. It's both options can work. You just have to figure out which one is more right for you and where you are in your journey.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Thank you. So, I'll be fast. My question is that I see Zeneca tweeting a lot lately on AI. So I'm curious, what is Zeneca's actual take on AI? I think he's doing a lot of research and studying on AI. So, what can you just brief us a bit on how do you think it's going to evolve or play a role in Web3 or Web2 as well? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think AI is incredibly powerful, and almost everyone is underestimating the impact it's going to have on our lives in the next year, let alone 5-10 years. I think that at the end of the day, AI is a tool. It's like any other piece of software, technology. It can be used well, it can be used poorly. You can get consumed by it, you can ignore it, but it's there. And the people that can understand it early enough and figure out how to utilize it, similar to social media, similar to the internet in the first place, to computers, to the blockchain, it's just another form of technology, but it's incredibly powerful. And I think it's going to change the world in ways that are kind of unprecedented. Maybe the only other thing I can think of that's like of the same scale is like the introduction of the internet in the first place, and that obviously changed the world tremendously. AI is going to be on that same order of magnitude, potentially one order of magnitude larger. And I think just being aware of like all of the different areas that it's going to sort of impact from, whether it's, we're now seeing in like AI can create art, it can create poetry, it can create videos and movies and edit things, it can create podcasts, it can copyright, and it can write code. And it's really just, it's becoming very apparent that it can do almost anything. And just being aware of that and thinking about how it might impact your personal situation, your job, your career, your life, those who are around you, what opportunities it might open up, but also, what pitfalls there might be. And I think just everyone should be thinking more about AI. It's coming fast.
So I think, with that, I think, Zeneca, we can close out the space. And thanks so much for your time and, just dropping out and sharing your fruitful thoughts. I'm sure it's been an amazing conversation. Hope you had fun as well.
I had a blast. Thank you so much.
Thanks. And thanks for making it possible, Jija. And I know just for everyone else, we have a great Pope, for our show. The password is Zozenzo without any space. Just Zozenzo for claiming your Pope. And we can do a live Zozozo. Would love to hear some Zozozo from you, Zan. That's our cult. That's where we are, taking it forward with Zozozo. We'll let you go. Just do one Zozozo for us, and then you can
Zozozo.
hang up on Zozozo.
Thank you so much.
Zozozo.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Take care, Zeneca. Thanks.